Hello everyone, welcome back. I want to talk to you guys today about why I think the Green Tip 5.56 is the best combat cartridge or even home defense cartridge that you can use. Okay, and what I got here is a steel plate that is a 1/2 inch thick. Okay, you can use the part of the bullet that protrudes from the case as a point of reference. Okay, that part, this is the bullet over here. That's a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch long as far as the part that comes out of the case. Okay, and when I shot this the steel plate, the deepest penetration, okay, came out of the Green Tip. I shot this with a variety of different cartridges. Okay, this is actually the deepest. This one got in pretty deep, but not quite the full 1/2 inch. That one went in the full 1/2 inch. It did not come out the back. I'll show you the back side. What happened is on the back side, the plate kind of bent out. Okay, it did do that with all of them. It bent out, so that's why I was able to penetrate the 1/2 inch without actually coming through. Okay, now the reason why the Green Tip is so effective is because there's a steel rod that runs down the center, and what happens is on impact, right, the lead around that steel rod kind of braces it and allows that, it really forces that steel rod to push forward into the steel plate. Okay, now let's look at some other cartridges. Over here I have the Remington 223. Okay, so that's just plain 223, and as you can see, just by the bullet depth, I mean, not even 1/8 of an inch, or maybe about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, but you can tell, you can see the tip, right? You can easily see the tip of the bullet, whereas over here the whole thing pretty much disappears in there. Okay, so all right, so that's the Remington 223. Let's look at the AK-47. AK-47 is right here. Okay, so you can see the crater itself is a little bit wider because it's a 30 caliber. Okay, but you can easily see the Green Tip. Okay, so maybe about 1/8 of an inch to about maybe 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch penetration. Okay, all right. So and I also shot this with a 308. Okay, 308 right there. Okay, it went in about halfway. If if you're looking at the sides of the bullet, so that's about 1/4 inch. This one was less. That one is less. This one was the deepest with the 308. We got that. About 1/4 inch penetration, but by far the deepest was right here. Okay, that's the Green Tip. Okay, now I also took this Green Tip because over here, this one here, I shot this out of the AR with the 16-inch barrel. I put this into my AR pistol, which has a 7.5 inch barrel, and I shot the Green Tip here. Okay, and as you can see that it's still got some penetration. Okay, now the reason why that's significant is because this has 650 foot-pounds, and if you put the 650 foot-pounds, basically a 357 Magnum. If I shoot this with a 357 Magnum, it's not going to do anything. Over here I shot that with Remington 223, and as you can see, it just nicked it. So it makes a big difference between Green Tip and Remington 223. And again, that's the 5.56 Green Tip out of the 16-inch barrel. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute. Hey guys, welcome back. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about these 5.56 Green Tips and why this caliber in general, the 5.56 223, is the best caliber that you can have, particularly in an AR-15. As I showed you a few minutes ago, I was shooting a 1/2 inch mild steel plate, and these Green Tips were able to penetrate that, almost a full 1/2 inch. They didn't come out the back because the steel bent out the back, but they got 1/2 inch of penetration, even more than the 308. Okay, so what are we getting out of this? We're getting something that's really small, right, and light compared to a 308 or even an AK round. So it's small, and it has lots of penetrating power. 100 rounds of this is 2.5 pounds, 2.5 pounds. So 200 rounds of this is basically 5 pounds. So you're getting a lot of economy when you consider the penetrating power versus the weight that you are carrying. So to me, that's an important consideration. Now let's talk about why would you want penetrating power. Okay, well, in most combat type of situation, or even in a home defense type of situation, it's likely that the bad guys will be taking cover. Okay, so you're going to be shooting, around things and even through things. It is very common for people to use vehicles to get to places and use vehicles to leave places. So there's a good chance that they'll be using a vehicle of some type as cover, whether it be a car or a truck or something along those lines. So the green tip has a better chance of going through a fender or through the rim of the car. That's what they're hiding behind and shooting behind. So we want that penetrating power. Now, even if you're inside a building or a house, or again, you want some penetrating power, because bad guys will typically be hiding behind walls. Or, if they're trying to come through a doorway, they'll be shooting they'll be using that doorway basically for cover. So you don't have to wait for them to poke their head out. You can basically shoot through the wall, still hit them, and have some penetrating power. Now, what about the issue of over penetration? Okay, well, let's consider, for example, a home defense type of situation. In a home defense type of situation, it is most likely that your people, your family, your friends are going to be behind you, okay, and that anybody in front of you is a bad guy. Now, in a home defense type of situation, most houses have narrow doorways and narrow hallways, okay, and that's where the bad guys are going to be funneling through. So I want that penetration, because as the bad guys are trying to come through, with one of these, 5.56 calibers, I can use that to penetrate multiple bad guys. They'll go through the first guy, the second guy, the third guy, maybe even the fourth guy. Okay, so as they're stacked one on top of the other and trying to get through narrow hallways and doorways, each bullet will count for a lot more, as opposed to using something like a hollow point that's going to stop when it hits the first bad guy. Well, now what's happening? Well, the first bad guy is now basically a human shield for all the guys behind him that are shooting over him. Okay, so the way I visualize a home defense situation, I want that penetrating power. Now, what if your situation is such where hey, you just don't want that? You don't want penetrating power. Well, like I said a little bit earlier, the 7.5 inch barrel that I have on this AR pistol, the barrel actually stops right here. Okay, all this up here is basically a it's a linear compensator to quiet the gun a little bit. Okay, so the barrel stops right here. So the 5.56 round out of the 7.5 inch barrel has 650 foot-pounds, which is the same as a 357 Magnum. Okay, so now one of the nice things about the 5.56 223 is that Tula is nice enough to make this in hollow points. Okay, so these rounds here, hold them out for you guys over here. I think you should be able to see it. Hold it out there. Okay, these are hollow points. Okay, so I have basically a 350, the power of a 357 here, with a hollow point. So I do have the option of getting that expansion, and they also sell these with soft tips. Okay, like hunters typically use. So this caliber, the 5.56, gives me a lot of versatility, because I can have this gun, and if for any reason I decide that I want that extra power, I can just take the same ammo, throw it into this gun, and now I have about with the Tula I have around 1,200 foot-pounds of energy. With the green tips I have around 1,300 foot-pounds of energy. So it gives me, I have that versatility with the 5.56 223. So that's one type of situation where we want that penetrating power, or we decide that we don't want that penetrating power and we switch to a hollow point or a soft tip. Now, what's the other type of situation? Well, let's say the fighting moves outdoors. and now we're outdoors and we're in the bushes. Okay, in a situation like this, basically you're only going to see your threat for like a split second before he moves. So you pretty much have to saturate the area with gunfire. Okay, and ideally you want to basically saturate the area and flush him out to another area, right? So basically you're driving him to your where your teammates are, let's say on the other side over there. So we're going to saturate this area with gunfire and try to flush him out so that our teammates can deal with him on the other side. So that's one of the reasons why the the AR-15/M16 was so effective in Vietnam, because you were in a situation where you had a lot of vegetation, where you really couldn't see the threat, and you could just put a lot of fire in in an area where you think that the threat was. Okay, so we have the benefit of both penetration, and we also have the benefit of being able to deliver a high volume of fire, specifically because basically this is a 22 caliber with a lot of gunpowder behind it. So that's one of the reasons why we have that versatility with the 5.56. Okay, I mean, the military has been looking at replacing this for a long time, and they keep coming back to it. There's a reason why they keep coming back to it, because this is basically the most useful under the most the most different types of circumstances. It's useful in close quarter combat. In an urban area, it's very useful in a forest or jungle type of environment. So this is extremely versatile, and I'd be hesitant to second guess what they're doing in the first place. But in the second place, just from my own testing, this makes absolute sense. It makes sense that you want a high penetrating round, okay, that comes in a small package that you can carry a lot of, okay, because 200 rounds of this is only about 5 pounds. Okay, so to me that's very important. And even if you go with if you take the option that you don't want that high penetrating power, you can get an AR pistol with a short 7.5-inch barrel, and now you have the benefit of better accuracy, because you got a red dot on this. You can mount lights on this. So this you can put a sling on this. So this is basically going to beat any pistol on any day. Okay, there's no pistol that's going to outperform an AR-15, a short barrel AR-15. Okay, so a couple of things for you guys to think about. Something before I go, another thing that sometimes people will say is, well, yeah, this green tip, because it's got that steel rod down the center, it's very good at at penetrating, right? Especially penetrating hard things like steel. Well, but you could do that with any caliber. You could take, let's say, an AK round and put a steel rod in that, or 308 and put a steel rod in that. Won't that have even more penetrating power? And the answer is yes, it would have. But where are you going to buy it? I mean, as far as I know, nobody makes AK rounds or 308s that have that steel rod down the center. Nobody else makes green tips. So with the 5.56/223, we just have so much versatility. We have versatility in the ammunition itself. Everything from soft tips, hollow points, just standard full metal jacket, the green tips with a steel rod down the center. And then we have so much versatility as far as barrel lengths. One of the things to consider, aside from the economics of carrying the gun, and the economics of weight to performance ratio, you can also consider the actual economics. Okay, 5.56/223 is also cheap to buy, and the reason for this is because it's a small cartridge. Now, in general, metals are more expensive than chemicals. Okay. And I'll use the 357 as an example because I happen to know the numbers offhand. I reload. Okay, so in order for me to reload 1,000 rounds of 357, I buy a 1 pound container of gunpowder. Okay, so 1 pound of gunpowder gives me 1,000 rounds of 357. It costs me $22. Okay, the bullets, on the other hand, right, the 158 grain bullets that go into the 357. 250 rounds cost me $35. Okay, so $35, I only get 250 bullets. Okay, versus gunpowder, you know, I get enough. You know, for $22, I get enough gunpowder to reload 1,000 rounds of 357. So right there, you can see that gunpowder is basically cheaper than lead or metals. Okay, so another reason why the economics is always going to favor the 5.56 223, and I especially love these green tips, and I just showed you at the beginning of the video why. I mean, you get better penetration than even a 308. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.